So here you are, interested in something that you've been doing 25,000 times a day for your whole life, millions and millions of breath you've taken. This little workshop is not about regret for any of them. This little workshop is an introduction or an explanation and time to practice and then even discuss a couple of different breathing exercises, how to set up for them, how to use them, when they may come in handy, benefits of breathing, not just breathing, mindful breathing. We know the benefits of breathing. And it'll be recorded so that if you want to look back on it, you can. And if you want to share it with anyone, you can. If you want to share the techniques you learn, a lot of the techniques we're going to be learning, you can be doing when you're in a Zoom meeting or when you're sitting at the dinner table, when you're eating food. Deep nostril breathing while you're eating not only allows you to enjoy the scent and the flavor more, but it kind of slows you down so that you eat with peace. Really pleasant experience. Smelling flowers is a deep, long inhale, and then you enjoy what you get from that breath. So, time to learn, time to practice, and then discussion or ideas about how these exercises can help you on the spot. So, first and foremost, now I practice a lot of physical yoga. I'm sitting on the floor. That is not comfortable for everyone. I'm actually going to modify how I'm sitting on the floor because we're going to be here for a little while. Please feel welcome to sit on a chair, sit on the sofa. You can sit in bed, but it's nice to be able to have either your push or your feet landed somewhere because it just helps you be able to stay steady during the breathing practice. Now, I said I'm going to modify. I'm going to take a couple pillows just because they're sitting here, and if I don't do it now, I'm going to think about them the whole class, and I'm going to sit like that. And then I have to tilt the screen. Okay. So in a seated practice of meditation or breath work, just like when we go to a yoga class, you want to make sure you take care of yourself before you get there. So, if you have to go take a pee, if you want a glass of water, either nearby, probably nearby, if you want a little bit of food beforehand so that you have the energy to focus on what we're doing here as opposed to just thinking about the toast you should have had beforehand. So this isn't a minimalist type practice. This isn't this is supposed to be a treat. So imagine you're showing up for a manicure or something and you have time to sit and have your water and you know that you're prepared to get here. Unlike going into a yoga class, we're not going to be doing physical movements. However, if there's any physical movement you want to do to bring you ease before we start practicing, or even while we're practicing, well, of course you should do that. So you are welcome to take some twists. You're welcome to move the spine forward and back. You're welcome to take some side bends anytime you'd like to. As a rule of thumb, if you think of the spine as a long willow branch, it has 6 ranges of movement. It can lean side to side, that's 2 ranges, forward and back, that's 2 ranges, and then it can twist side to side. So if you need a little bit of activity to get you comfortable to sit down, either to meditate or breathe, think about those 6 ranges of your spine. I'm going to assume we're all ready to start, and here we will sit. So I'd like to begin by asking you to let your hands rest, either palms down or palms up, somewhere where the shoulders can drop to neutral. Belly doesn't need to be particularly strong or soft, peaceful. And if you feel comfortable closing your eyes, go ahead and close your eyes. And without changing, without judging, without having to try to make it less than or better than, just notice the breath that is in you. Mine's a little shallow. I've been talking. I'm going to keep it that way. And I'm just going to put my mind inside my breath and notice it. Does it have a texture or a scent? Are there any little impediments? Do you need to do an extra sniff here or there to clear a nostril, or can you just kind of breathe around it without any panic or drama? So, our very first breath exercise is breath noticing. Breath noticing. Now, there are many ways I could remind you to be easy on yourself. I could remind you you are not in competition with yourself or anyone else about how you breathe. There is no right or wrong. You know that. You've been practicing it for all these years. My favorite way to approach many sort of practices, even things like gardening, sometimes parenting, cooking a new recipe, or a breathing or meditation practice, is to approach it with curiosity and joy. Not with, I have to do this to be better. Curiosity and joy as we practice today. We get to breathe. We get to be the experiencer of the breath. And we get to practice the breath. Now, if you're comfortable with your eyes closed, keep them closed. If at any point closing your eyes takes you away from the moment and back into other responsibilities, feel welcome to open the eyes and either cast them down towards the floor or towards the wall or something kind of boring, something that doesn't catch your attention and pull it away. So eyes closed or eyes slightly cast down and partway open. We're going to come into an equal duration breath. So now that you've noticed your breath, now we can work with beginning to find practices that help to enhance your capacity and enhance your mindfulness and all the other great benefits we get from the breathing. So as you inhale, I'd like you to take a long but comfortable inhale and see what you count to when you inhale. Maybe it's 6 or 8 or 10, depending on your pace of counting. And then see if you can match the exhale in duration and effort with that same count, that same effort. Equal duration breath, as simple as it sounds. I inhale for a count of 6, 8, or 10, and I notice when I do. Maybe a slight pause at the top to enjoy the view. And then a matching exhale in duration, velocity, and count and texture. Equal duration. Inhale and exhale. Now, if the mind wanders, which it tends to do, we are thinking beings. Notice the mind has wandered, and again, without judgment, gently guide it back to the breath. Sometimes, often, usually, the mind surprises us with wandering away. And there can be a little joy in noticing that it's wandered away, like that little rascal, and like bringing a puppy or a kitten back into the fold. Kindly nudge your awareness back to your equal duration breath. We'll practice this for about 30 more seconds in silence. When you're ready, take a nice long inhale through your nose and hold the top of the breath. And open your mouth and ha as you exhale. Go ahead and shut the eyes and let the chin drop down to stretch the neck. You can even place your hands on your knees and begin to round your spine. A little bit of movement in between and then a little bit of arch of the spine. And if you'd like, a little twist side to side. Now, equal duration breath, which when we come back to center, you're welcome now, even with the eyes open as I speak to you. Find your equal duration breath again. So we found it with the eyes closed in dedicated practice. But now let's pretend we're on a Zoom call and your mind is going all over the place, including impatience, and begin to bring your awareness back to your equal duration breath, even as we're sitting here and I'm speaking to you, or if you were speaking to others. We can still find our equal duration breath with the eyes open as we go about the work that we do. As I mentioned, finding an equal duration or any deliberate breath while eating, which I tried this morning with my toast and jam, really enhances the flavor, really slows down. Talk about mindful eating. Now, in the military, they've gotten very comfortable, and it's gotten quite popular now, using a type of breath called box breathing. And if I had a little diagram, I could show you with the diagram. I mean, it's pretty much what it sounds like. And I equate it to equal duration breath. So you've already learned this, but if you've ever heard of box breathing, they talk about taking an inhale up one side. This is going to be a very skewed box. And then there's a pause across the top. And then a long, slow exhale. And then a pause across the bottom. So that's pretty much what we just did with equal duration breath. A long inhale, an equal amount of pause, a long exhale, an equal amount of pause, and so on and so on. So if you're a visual person, that may help you while you're practicing this seated. And then eventually your body begins to learn it, and it can become a go-to when you're driving or parenting or eating. So that is our equal duration breath. Now, the next breath awareness I'd like to practice with you is something called a two-stepped or sometimes a three-stepped breath. We're going to try the two-stepped breath. One's not, no judgment, one's not better than the other. But I find that, and you'll see why, the two-step versus the three-step, a little bit simpler and more direct, and a little less obvious if you're going to practice it while you're out in the world and around other people. So basically, we work on stepping our inhale up and our exhale down. And so when we work and focus on stepping the inhale up, we're helping to lift energy. There's a benefit. We're raising our heart rate. If we're sleepy in the morning and thinking of that second or even first cup of coffee, maybe a breathing exercise can pick you up, or that 3 o'clock slump in the afternoon. Maybe the focusing on our higher inhales rather than exhales maybe can get us through the afternoon without the caffeine or without the sugar snack or something like that. So the first one we're going to work on is working on stair stepping the exhale down. No, we're going to work on stair stepping the exhale up, which is going to raise energy a little bit. And then after that, we're going to work on stair stepping the exhale down. The benefits of stair stepping the exhale down. You can actually feel that within your pulse. It can lower your heart rate that much. I have scientific evidence from our own home where my husband, who has a blood pressure cuff, to check his blood pressure, has tried taking his blood pressure and then tried doing just a few rounds of the stair stepped exhale down, making our exhale longer than the inhale. And right away, he can see it in the results in the blood pressure cuff. That's pretty scientific. So we're going to stair step up first, and I'll just guide you through that, and we'll see how we feel, and then we're going to stair step down. So stair stepping up for energy. So first, what I'd like you to do is get comfortable again, have your feet rest, your seat rest, your palms rest somewhere. If you're sitting in a chair or on the bed or the sofa, make sure your feet can reach the ground. As we've learned here before, if your feet don't reach the ground and you're sitting in a chair, put blocks or fold up a blanket and put it underneath your feet. And then again, eyes can be opened or closed. How do you feel comfortable? Can you feel the shoulders relax again? Take a deep exhale through the nose out. And a deep inhale through the nose. And then exhale deeply through the nose. And then inhale just 1/2 of your capacity and hold the breath there. So it's like a sip halfway full. Maybe you can envision the breath right around the heart center or the low ribs. And then inhale fully off of that all the way to the top of the head. And then through your nose, one long, steady exhale. Let the exhale dissipate naturally. And when you're ready, inhale halfway and pause. Inhale fully and pause. When you're ready, through your nose, a long, slow exhale. And we're going to do that for about 1 minute. And while you do it, I'd like you to, I don't want to say challenge yourself, but with joy and curiosity, get curious about what it feels like to hold the breath at those places a little longer or a little less. So maybe you're working at 70% capacity or 80% or 90%, and then maybe sometimes you're working at 40 or 50%. So stair stepping the inhale halfway and pausing for as little or as long as you'd like. And then when you're ready, inhaling all the way to the top and pausing. And then when you're done with that pause, a steady exhale through your nose if you can. You'll notice as the breath gets a little more complicated, so to speak, it's a little bit easier for your mind to come back to the work that it's doing. I'll ask you please not to hold the breath so much that it makes you struggle or your eyes bug out. I'll also ask you to consider continuing to breathe through your nose as much as you can. I'll talk about those benefits in a moment. If it's impossible to breathe through the nose, do the best you can. And if you need to supplement with pursed lips, feel welcome to do that. The next time you take a long exhale through your nose, let that end this practice and come back to your equal duration breath. I'm aware that I'm inhaling. I'm aware that I'm exhaling. Just notice if you feel any different, more focused, less sleepy. And then before we come into a little bit of body movement, let's talk about the nose. So amazing research and study. There's a man named James Nestor who has been studying, Nestor, has been studying breath for a while, but happened to time his book, I think it's it's called Breath or Breathe, happened to time his book with the world pandemic. So not only did people have more time to read, I hope, but they had more interest in breath and or lack of breath. So his book was quite timely, and it has boomed, and he's working on a second book, and he's on a ton of different podcasts, and a bunch of podcasts have come up because of this awareness of breath. So it's kind of fed each other. So the breathing through the nose, I won't go into all the information, but I'll include somehow a link in, I don't know, somewhere where you can get information on that. But there is connective tissues and little microfibers all inside of our nose that connect with the different body organs and body systems. And that's pretty incredible stuff. It's also completely missed if you're breathing through your mouth. Now, there can be benefits of mouth breathing, kind of. We're going to do a open mouth exhale breath in a little while, and there can be some really beautiful heartfelt benefits from that. But in general, when we are trying to focus on our breathing, we really want to try to focus on breathing through the nostrils. What can be helpful for that is taking the tip of the tongue and letting it rest on the roof of the mouth, right behind the upper front teeth. When you do that, it's kind of awkward and uncomfortable to breathe through your mouth. So the tongue rests up there, the jaw closes more naturally, and then you have to breathe through your nose. So we could try that for a second. Even if you're taking notes, you can take the tip of the tongue to the roof of the mouth. Try to breathe through your mouth. Awkward. And close the lips. You soften the lips and jaw. You can keep the tongue on the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth and breathe through your nose. So I won't give you all the benefits, just know that they're out there. It's fascinating. Remember when mindfulness was the big buzzword? Breath. Breath is having its day, let alone with George Floyd and I Can't Breathe and COVID and oppressed communities. There's a lot of not breathing going on as well. So breath is a big buzzword, but it's helped encourage the science behind it. Okay, so I got really excited about talking about that. So I'm going to work on a stair step down now to help bring my mind back into the game, to kind of bring my energy down. Let's say I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning and couldn't sleep. I would work on stair stepping my breath down. What if I'm super hyped and excited because I'm driving in traffic and it's bugging me out a little bit? I would stair step my breath down. I got in an argument or I'm hearing stuff that I'm ready to jump back with a response to, I might stair step my breath down. So get comfortable, butts down, feet down, hands down, shoulders down, maybe eyelids down. And again, when we practice these breaths out in the real world, your eyes will be open, but making this dedicated time to really focus here. With the eyes closed, take a long inhale through your nose and through your nose, a long exhale. Through your nose, a long inhale. Notice if your shoulders ride up with that and try not to. Hold the top of the breath and exhale 1/2 of the way and pause. Through the nose, exhale all the rest of the way as far as you can and pause at the bottom. When you're ready, a long inhale through the nose. Keep the shoulders down and soft. And stair step it down again. Exhale halfway, maybe right around the heart center or the low ribs. Exhale the breath all the way out and pause at the bottom. And then take a long inhale. I'll give you about 1 minute here to try that. I don't want to put you to sleep. But 1 minute of stair stepping the breath in halves down. And again, just like when we stair stepped up, I don't want you to work at 100%. Try 50, 60, 80. Experiment with how long you hold or don't hold the breath. joy and curiosity, not a competition, not a doing it right. Next time you exhale fully, allow that to end your practice here, knowing you can always come back to it and come back to your equal duration breath. Aware of the inhale, aware of the exhale. Right. If you'd like to take some slight movements because you've been sitting stiff, please always feel welcome to take slight movements. This is not supposed to be torture. And I would say if you were to develop a breathing practice on your own, you would do these practices for anywhere between 1 and maybe even 10 minutes. It's in that sense is a meditation in itself. And like anything we practice, we get stronger at it. So there is no gym equipment to make our breath stronger, but we have all that equipment within us. So depending on which breath you practice, you develop those muscles, you develop that mind-body connection. And then when you are in traffic, or when you are having a nice meal, or when you do have a stressful moment with a spouse, partner, or child, instead of holding the breath or going back to your fast breathing, you can stop and notice the breath. And then notice if you want to work on your exhale to calm you down, or your inhale to wake you up, or your box breathing or equal duration breathing, just to keep steady and present. So you can practice these anywhere between 1 and 10, 20, 30 minutes. I went on a long walk yesterday, about 40 minutes, and I did 10 minutes of different breath exercises. And I'll tell you, like, the air smelled better, my jaw was softer, my mind was more present to my walk rather than my grocery list. I felt great when I came home. Usually listen to podcasts on my work. It was like even better than a podcast. It was just me, myself, and I. All right, the next one gets a little bit more interesting, and you might want to practice this one seated at home as opposed to at the dinner table or while you're driving. Although all of these breath exercises, you can be an example to other people. So they may indeed see that, wow, or he is a whole lot calmer and is enjoying their food a lot, or is not jumping to reaction like they used to. Maybe I should try that breathing stuff. However, this next one is called alternate nostril breathing. And how I like to practice it is I take my dominant hand, so the hand that you write with, and the peace fingers, because our goal here is peace. I bring my peace fingers together, and that's going to leave my ring finger and my thumb finger access to pinch the sides of my nose. So I take this to my face, and the peace fingers come to the center of my forehead. So think of it as like I'm clearly seeing and peace right on my forehead. And then my thumb and my ring finger press the sides of the nose, and you can hear my voice change when I do that. All right, so what's nice to do so that you don't stress out your dominant shoulder is to take your other hand underneath that elbow and then hug that other arm into your rib cage so that you have a little system here. If that was too much, you could even rest your elbow on a table. We don't want to stress out the shoulders because we happen to be using our hand to breathe. So with both nostrils open, I'd like you to breathe through the right nostril and guide the breath right to the center of the forehead. And then breathe out the left nostril. Now block your left nostril, but keep your right nostril open. Equal duration breaths through your right nostril. And we're going to take about 10 of them. And we're just breathing in and out through the right nostril. And as you do that breath work, I'll speak to you a little bit. And you keep finding your equal breath or equal enough. You can experiment with how deep you take it or how shallow you take it. So our nostrils actually do separate things. And when we use them both, we breathe in stereo. And you can try this after class today, blocking one nostril and smelling flowers or a cup of coffee or a bar of soap. And notice a few times, maybe 5 or 10 times, breathing through one nostril, see what you smell. And then blocking that nostril, as we will do here in a moment, and smelling through the other nostril and see what you smell. Little bit different through both nostrils. Stereo breathing through both nostrils will enhance the smell. Individual nostrils will help build the individual strengths. Okay, the next time you inhale to center forehead, I want you to take the breath right there and pause on the uplifted inhale. And you guessed it, block your right nostril and let your breath slide up and down the left nostril, slow or fast. Remember, you can let the tip of your tongue rest on the roof of your mouth. Maybe even here you notice that where you are, or your hand maybe smells a little bit differently, breathing in and out through the left side. Now, the crazy science about these nostrils that they're really just uncovering is not only do the right and left nostril breathe at different or take in different scents and sensations, every 3 hours they switch roles. So it's not like you're trying to build one nostril over the other. You're trying to build them both. And they think that they switch nostrils based on our energy levels, based on our blood pressure, in a way of helping us to balance not only that which we smell, maybe inner ear pressure, that whole little inner head pressure system that we have going on. And we don't even tell it to switch. But that's part of what keeps us balanced from the inner system of the head. Right, the next time you inhale to center forehead, pause there. Exhale through both nostrils as you release your hands down to your lap. And now fully breathe through both nostrils. Before we go on with the next exercise, I do want you to roll your head and neck around a little bit. That last one took a lot of focus. Sometimes we tend to stiffen up from that. You can roll to one side and turn your eyeballs and face and head as far as it'll go. And then come back to center and try it to the other side, but turn the eyeballs and the face and the head, kind of like a thank you to all that mysterious work we don't know everything about. And then come back to center and let the chin drop down and the chin drop up. That was one version of alternative nostril breathing. You can try that from anywhere from 1 to 10 minutes. There are other alternative nostril breathings as well, but for today I wanted to keep you focusing on one side and then the other side. And then now we're going to move into a different style of breath called the ha breath, H-A, or the sigh breath. But what I find is when I call it or think of it as a sigh breath, that almost has a sad connotation to it. So ha is actually a syllable and a sound, I've learned this recently, that equates or stimulates the heart center. And it's interesting because when we sigh or when we hum, it kind of vibrates right here in the heart. A sigh sometimes can be a sigh of, oh, isn't that lovely? Or a sigh of sadness or a sigh of exhaustion. So there's emotion that arises with sigh. So if we think of it as a ha breath with an emphasis on the H sound, perhaps we can gather our energy and our nourishment around our hearts, whether they need to be boosted or soothed or just open to the beauty and the joy and curiosity that's in front of us. So it doesn't have to be loud. This is one I did yesterday when I was walking. It doesn't have to be loud unless you want it to be. And I'll ask you to come to your comfortable seat again, shoulders relaxed. Now this time the tongue is not going to rest on the roof of the mouth unless you rest it there as you inhale through the nose, because the process now is we're going to inhale long through the nose, and then when we open the mouth, it's then the mouth closes, tongue can go to the roof as you inhale long and slow through the nose. And open the mouth and ha. We're going to do this for a little bit over a minute. Ha breath. Eyes can be opened or closed. Inhales and exhales. Now that you've done your breath awareness, they can be just aware of the length. You can do equal duration of the length. If you're getting sleepy, you can stair step the inhale up, pause, and then open the mouth and you can even take the practice of each time you open your mouth and exhale. You could imagine that tension in your body is deflating like a balloon, or that the warm vibration in the back of your throat of the sound that you make on is warming and nourishing your heart from the front and also from the back between the shoulder blades. We'll take 1 minute here. Now let's try this last one together. Exhale all the way out. Pause at the bottom of the breath. A long, slow inhale through your nose. Pause at the top, and together, allow your eyes and lips to close and come back to your nostril breathing. Think of it, not only do we breathe 22 to 25,000 times a day, but so does every other human being. Smaller animals breathe faster, so they take more breaths. So your cat may breathe 40,000 times a day, or your dog, all that panting. The breath is a unifier. It does so much for us, but when we in turn realize how similar we all are in our needs for inhales and exhales, it can erase boundaries and color and class and gender and all those identifiers that make us different. Breath is the great unifier as well. Now, the almost last breath I'm going to teach you is one that some of us has practiced before, but it's a really nice on-the-spot breath practice. It's called 3 mindful breaths. Now, I teach this to my students in this fashion. You can take any type of breaths you want as long as you're aware of them. But the idea is this is a really good practice, and usually where it is practiced is off the mat. So to begin, you would say take Post-it notes with the number 3 on them and put them in 5 places in your house: the coffee maker, the bathroom mirror, maybe your phone or your steering wheel, or something that you see a few times a day, but you're not staring at all day long so that it doesn't lose its interest. And then when you see that reminder to take the 3 mindful breaths, you can continue whatever you're doing, but slow down and be aware of the next 3 breaths. And you can brush your teeth with that and look at that 3 or think of that 3. And instead of rushing through it, well, you can still rush through the brushing, but just notice those 3 breaths. So 3 mindful breaths, a really nice on-the-spot meditation. If you're looking out over a beautiful vista, you can keep listening to those around you chatting, but taking that time to take the 3 mindful breaths. And maybe no one else knows you're doing it and you're having your own little processing moment. Or maybe they notice you're doing it and maybe they learn from it. You don't have to tell them to do it, but maybe by example, they learn from it. I will tell you, these lilacs, 3 mindful breaths of lilac is amazing. And then that scent of lilac and that memory of having experienced it for just 3 breaths, that can follow you well past lilac season. You had that moment. We can also do this when we're sad. Sometimes when we're sad, we need to allow some sadness and not just distract ourselves and say, I'm going to do stair step breath so I'm not thinking about my sadness. We can sit for 3 breaths and notice, oh, honey, you're sad, or you're stressed, or you're super busy right now. We can sit in that discomfort as well and then move on or not move on. So we're going to try that right here. Very, very simple. Eyes open or closed. I'm going to suggest you open your eyes and gaze at something in your home or outside. Quickly pick one thing. Gaze at it. 3 mindful breaths as you gaze. If the eyes try to move away, keep them there. You've only 2 breaths left. Soften the jaw. Soften the creases of the eyes as you gaze. And then close your eyes. Turn your head to the opposite side of where you were looking. And then open your eyes and let your eyes catch the first thing you look at: a pillow, a lamp, the corner of your mat. 3 mindful breaths, even there, even if you didn't pick it because it's beautiful. Let the shoulders soften. Don't over effort. And after 3, close your eyes and bring your head back to center and drop your chin down towards your chest. Cup your hands in your lap. And then when you open your eyes, just look at your palms. 3 mindful breaths. Notice how the mind may get judgmental. You don't need to judge the hands to be beautiful or perfect or wrinkled or imperfect. For this moment, I am gazing upon my own palms, mindful of my breath. And then take those palms, palm over palm, to the center of your heart. You can keep your chin down or lift it. Eyes can be opened or closed. And think back to a time in your life when it could have been this morning, could have been years ago, when you were sad or stressed and most possibly unmindful of your breath. And maybe take 3 mindful breaths now as a gift to that former self, as a way to say, there. I breathe for you now. And then finally look forward into the rest of your day or week or at a holiday weekend coming up. Notice a few times when perhaps you can pause and take 3 mindful breaths. Or notice when perhaps working on the energy of the stair-stepped inhale or the relaxation of the stair-stepped exhale, begin to plan out where you might try them. And envision yourself being a living, breathing creature among all the other living, breathing creatures, the ones you live with, the ones you interact with, the ones you drive on the highway with or Zoom with, or those you think about. And then I'd like you to think about those you interact with and how perhaps your breath, as an example or a gift here, could help them. And we'll close our practice session today by sending them an open mouth, ha. And on that breath, send any gifts or blessings. Watch as they pause and receive the breath. Let it rain down upon them like soft flowers or cool moonlight or warm sunshine. And watch as they begin to find some ease from the breath you send to them. Together, a long, deep inhale through the nose, and then open the mouth and release your hands to your thighs. Bring your awareness back to the rise and fall of the breath through the nose. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Thank you for your practice. Don't stop learning. Well, Sue, do you have any questions? Do you have feedback of how it worked, what you liked, what you didn't like?
I like it. I feel that even when we did yesterday's class and the breathing down, the exhales, I feel like I get anxious more. Like I don't mind taking the inhale and or I feel like I can't exhale enough.
And
Like I struggle with that more. I
so
enjoy,
maybe don't try as hard.
yeah, or shorten it.
Yeah, don't try as hard. Like, don't stair step it as hard of a stop. Little bit of a stop, little bit of a stop. Inhale when you want to. I'll also tell you, and I just heard this yesterday on a podcast. So we exhale carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is associated with anxiety and fear and stress. It's fascinating. They did this study of a woman who has this weird disease where her amygdala degenerate, and the amygdala is like our stress response, and so she has, as they've degenerated, she has no fear. Like would get in a car with a stranger, um, had some bad stuff happen to her, no fear whatsoever. They did carbon dioxide therapy with her, and she instantly got her stress level, got stress and got fear back
Oh,
instantly, to the point where she said she would not do the study anymore.
I don't blame her.
So yeah, so on the one hand, like imagine if we could remove all of our stress and fear. That'd be kind of scary too, because we'd have no parameters of where we should go and where we shouldn't go. So just try a little less hard. It could be that your body's really not interested in that much carbon dioxide. I will say the other cool thing about breathing is that, we inhale oxygen, exhale carbon dioxide. Plants inhale carbon dioxide and exhale energy, oxygen. So when you feel like you're being useless or lazy doing breath work, no, you're feeding the plants. So you just don't want to feed them as much on your exhale. Just maybe try not as hard. But know
Yeah.
that there's absolutely a scientific connection there, which had you asked me 2 days ago, I wouldn't have known about.
Yeah. Cause it feels like almost like I can't exhale it all out. Like it feels like, why can't I keep pushing? I feel like I need to push more out. I just can't. Then I'm like, all right, breathe back in. And so then I'll do the inhale again, So I'm like, I enjoy the inhale. I feel like I can go longer with that.
Yeah.
And then exhale, I'm like, oh no, I can't keep going.
Well, maybe try not inhaling as far either,
Yeah.
because maybe you're setting yourself up too much and then you
Yeah.
can't get it all out. So maybe come to like instead of breathing like this, maybe start here and
Yeah.
inhale to here and or
But
find where your depth of exhale is and match that on your depth of inhale.
yeah, because when we were doing the equal duration, I was like, all right, I'll go to 6 or 8 because I can easily do that. But then I was struggling, so I brought it back to 4 to 4, and I was fine. So,
Yeah.
but then I feel like, why can't I exhale? What's wrong with me? And then I'm in my
See,
head, I'm
then
going,
you,
stop, nothing's
you were
wrong.
judging. Then you were judging. You could also try, it may be stressful that you're sitting upright. So you could also try going into a restorative yoga pose,
Okay.
including like lying down with like a pillow under, how we put a block underneath the head and the shoulder blades so the chest is nice and open. Maybe try a different posture and see if that helps you find more calmness in your exhales, because then the head, neck, and shoulders are more relaxed and maybe part of your body is on guard.
Yeah. Well, that's definite. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have two small kids, you have a house, I mean, life swirls around us.
Yeah.
So then maybe don't try the stair stepped exhale down while you're driving.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
But I loved it. Thank you so much.
Good. I'm glad it worked for you. I'm glad for the feedback. I will, you'll have the recording.
All right. Thank
Use it
you.
whenever you like. Thanks, Sue. Good to see you. Good
Have a
luck
good
with
day.
those allergies.
Thank you. I'm going to get the honey now.
Great, great, great. Bye.